There's a massive bug on that. Okay.
¿Es la media social destruyendo o apoyando a West Coast Swing? Is social media destroying or helping West Coast Swing? Hablaremos.
Swing Hub.
Bailamos West Coast Swing.
Bienvenidos al Modern Swing Podcast. Yo soy tu presentador, Benji Schwimmer. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Modern Swing Podcast. I am your host, Benji Schwimmer, and as you can see, we're not in my typical office or a hotel room. I'm actually currently renting a treehouse in the middle of Oaxaca, Mexico. I had just got done actually teaching at a convention in Hermosillo, Sonora for the very first time in Spanish, and it was such an incredible experience, and they had asked me what my return options were for flights, and I'm like, could you fly me to Oaxaca? And they're like, done. So here I am. I decided to take a couple of days for myself, and originally wasn't going to record anything while I was here. I was going to completely shut down, but I had a big epiphany kind of come over me. I've been thinking a lot about some of these future episodes. I've written about 10 of them now. Thanks to a lot of your participation, people have sent in so many wonderful messages and ideas and compliments and critiques that have really been helpful to make this process better for everybody. So I really hope and wish that each and every single one of you continue to stick with this podcast as I'm kind of going through these motions bit by bit, getting a little better. And also, thank you so much for the patrons who have actually donated to this pod to kind of keep it going, to keep me motivated to actually do it. You know who you are. Thank you so much. And if any of you feel like you want to also help keep this pod alive, you can donate there or there and get me a cup of coffee or buy me a car. I don't care. That would be great no matter what. Every little bit helps. And if you can't, if you're not in the position financially to help this podcast, but you do enjoy it, please like, and especially please subscribe and share this with other people. Share it on your different social medias. That is ultimately the goal, so that we can build a bit of a network where we can get multiple voices to kind of come in and out and not just hear my annoying voice
All the time.
And I'm going to apologize in advance because, again, the last week and a half, I've been speaking exclusively in Spanish. So my English kind of sucks right now, and it's not like it was very good to begin with. So we're just batting 1,000 here. Before we get into the episode itself, talking about social media and the gift and the curse, the benefits, the hurts that are involved with social media, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. We do have an episode that is part 2 of moves that you should know, especially solving the mystery, the click-clack. It has gone really, really deep, and I'm excited to share that episode with all of you soon. But I was laying on the beach, kind of meditating earlier today, and it just dawned on me as I was watching a child selling necklaces walk by. And it was pretty cool because he'd come up to me, started speaking to me in Spanish, and then I responded in Spanish, but I could tell by his accent that he wasn't a native Spanish speaker, but rather a Zapotec speaker. And for those of you that don't know, I lived here in Oaxaca, Mexico about 23 years ago, actually, from 2003 to 2005. And a lot of the community members actually of our dance actually pitched in to help kind of fund my mission trip that was for my former church. Now, former church drama aside, being in Oaxaca was sincerely the greatest experience that I have ever had in my entire life, and I stand by that. And I've had some pretty cool, crazy, life-changing experiences, but living here in the 7 regions that are completely distinct with different dialects, different food, culture, and even weather, whatever good is in me is either a direct reflection of my family, my dearest friends, and Oaxaca. I honestly think, and my dogs, I would say that was the other thing that kind of keep me not from completely imploding into like a narcissistic fit. So anyways, I just wanted to give my very best from everyone, and I thought it would be kind of cool to do an episode here in this treehouse. I'm not actually in a touristy town right now. I'm actually in a place a little farther out away from Mazunte Playa, which is a really wonderful place in the south of Oaxaca along the coastline. But I'm actually on top of a hill overlooking the beach, and so I'm not around any tourists. In fact, the people on this hillside that I was talking to earlier really don't even speak Spanish. They speak Zapotec, which is incredible, and I know a little bit, so it's been cool to kind of brush up on that speech. But anyway, circling back to this story, when I was on the beach, and this kid came up to me and offered to sell me these necklaces and these bracelets that he had made. We started to speak in Zapotec, and what was really weird is really beautiful young kid, and he was just trying to make a living, taking advantage of a lot of the visitors that come to the beach to sell something, little recuerdos, as they say, little memory trinkets that you can take home with you. And he asked my birth date, which is in January. So he's like, oh, this is your birthstone. You got to take this one, which was very sweet. I was astounded because normally people that speak dialect tend to stay in their appropriate, that's Spanish, they tend to stay in their respective villages, right? Tus pueblos propios, pues. What was really interesting is here he was like in the middle of like a touristy area amongst people that sometimes don't even speak Spanish. And he's speaking Spanish, which was a big change because when I lived out in these villages, there was a massive separation between the modern Mexican world versus the indigenous Mexican world, which is the most preserved culture that Mexico has. For those of you that don't know, Oaxaca is the only state that was never conquered by the conquistadors of Spain. So Oaxaca's got an incredible preserved arts, history, culture, food, even interesting religious practices that just make it such an interesting state to visit. And if you've never been here, you have to come here because this is like the true Mexico. And it's just the most incredible place on planet Earth. I hope to retire here sooner than later. That being said, as this kid was leaving, the weirdest thing happened. He got a call from his cell phone. And when I lived here, there weren't cell phones. Like I came back and the iPhone had not even been out. So when I came to the States, there was something called an iPod that just came out. And that was like the most revolutionary thing I'd ever seen. Kind of felt like Tom Hanks, cue the scene where he's flipping the light switch. I slept in a mud hut and a hammock half of my time. And there were times where I was in more of the metropolitan cities, but predominantly I wasn't. It was just interesting that this kid who lives in a Zapotec village near where I'm staying right now had a cell phone. And as he got the call, he said, I can't do anything right now, I'm busy. Closes the call and then immediately opens TikTok and there's like videos of people dancing. And it blew my mind. Because I remember living here and these kinds of cultural experiences, seeing hip-hop dancers from like Millennium or West Coast swing dancers or bachata dancers or zouk dancers, that just wasn't a thing out here at all. And it got me thinking a little deeper about today's direct subject, and that is social media. I would say traditionally, especially during and after the pandemic, I felt like social media was more of a hindrance than a benefit to our community. And it's not that I have changed my perspective on it. Rather, I kind of feel split in two right now. And seeing that kid watching, like, I think it was a bachata video, it got me thinking that bachata is not normally danced out here in these Zapotec villages. But because of the miracle of modern technology, and in this case, social media and cell phones, this kid was watching a dance that might inspire him to learn it, to want to teach it, to dance and travel and do what I do for a living. And so it got me thinking, I know that there's a new influx of Westies around the world. And something that I've noticed while reading a lot of comments from this pod and other videos that I've seen that have been connected with me somehow, a lot of people are starting to make this comment that I am not a West Coast swing dancer, but I'm a fan. And that has kind of blown my mind. I don't know if it's because I just come from a perspective or an upbringing where social media just wasn't the end all be all ever for me. And really the respect was earned in the ballroom, that I've just kind of stuck by that principle. And yet I also see that there's been a lot of people in this community that have gained really wonderful and incredible carreras, what's the word have really gained wonderful careers by and predominantly through the means of social media. And I'm only speaking right now for on behalf of the modern swing community, because frankly, I really don't care about influencers in general. I think they're some of the most vapid people I've ever encountered in the wild. However, I'd like to go over kind of this split brain, good cop, bad cop, left side, right side, kind of arguing the pros and cons of social media, if you will, today. So there's really not going to be a lot of dance study. I might post a little video and break it down in a little bit, but I figured let's do something a little different today, because We're all inundated with social media. It is, unfortunately, at least due in some part, a necessary evil in this day and age. I know that, for instance, my dance event, Monterey Swing Fest, probably would not be as successful as it is if we didn't have like a Facebook and if we didn't have a Instagram, the ability to send messages quickly to people. You know, people aren't checking their emails at dance events very often, but they are checking their messenger and they are checking their messages via social media. So I know that it's a necessary evil just in terms of being able to communicate and for the outreach that this community desperately needs day in and day out, and in particular, live at events on weekends. I hope that the fan behind me is not too loud. I'm sure I can find a way to manipulate the sound so that you don't hear a lot of the creaks. And if you see massive if you see massive bugs flying around, it's because I'm not actually inside my living space. That would be right over here where like the doors and the windows are sealed. But I really like this atmosphere. It's just feeling so típico, as we would say in Mexico, that I just had to do it here. But I'm getting bit like crazy and I'm killing bugs as we speak. And a funny, weird fact about Oaxaca, one of their delicacies is bugs. Now, I'm a staunch vegan now, so it's a little different staying here. But at the time, when I was a missionary, you ate what you were given. And there's a couple of villages where if you don't eat what they give you, they consider it a massive insult to the point that they sometimes kick you out of their village. So I've eaten everything here, very Hakuna Matata style, monkey brain soup. I've eaten iguana several times. An iguana actually fell on my towel today while I was sunbathing, which was really interesting. And I've eaten worms and milkworms, which are like a fuzzy thing that grow in cultured milk. I've eaten these giant ants called chicatanas that they only come like once a year, and they catch them in like water, drown them out, then fry them, then flick their heads off, and they taste just like burnt popcorn, but like in the best way possible. And in two of the villages that I lived in, there wasn't really any livestock there because of just like the habitat that was just not really keen on raising farm animals. So instead, they would raise crickets and use crickets as like their meat. So those chapulines are a delicacy. Like if I had to break my vegan streak, it would probably be for that. Anyways, I digress. Let's go back and talk about a couple of the pros and cons of social media and West Coast swing. And again, I'm going to say this because it wasn't until I was here that it got me thinking and it started clicking altogether. Maybe it's just because I've been away for about 8 days without being on social media. I've stepped back from answering most of my emails unless they seem an emergency, and being able to kind of meditate and quiet my brain, which seldom happens. I've enforced myself only stretch and not do full dances, let alone aggressive practicing, but kind of letting my body heal as well. And it's been an interesting, there's a big mosquito. And it's been an interesting experience, sincerely, for me. It's helped me go through some things that in our community are normally bothering me. For example, one of the things that I'm not so keen on at dance events right now is that social media is essentially destroying the crowd. And I know we are so passionate as Westies, but I'm going to say this, like crowds right now in West Coast swing are just really lacking. I'm not talking about the numbers per se. What I'm talking about is oh, that was a gunshot. Fun times. What I'm talking about right now, there's another gunshot. What I'm talking about, welcome to Oaxaca. What I'm talking about predominantly is right now we're seeing a sea of people sitting down and trying to videotape very still whatever they're capturing via video. And however great it is to have those memories captured, and I do think that a lot of events are doing a lot better right now, like at Monterey, at TAP, at a few of Kyle and Sarah's events as well. There's been the asking and the pleading of like, only certain moments are we allowed to have the crowd record dances, and if not, let the professionals do it, or let the pros that are dancing decide to be recorded by an assigned person, which I suggest all events doing. If we can all stick by this, then maybe we're gonna have a more present audience. And that's the problem, is that if you're holding this thing in front of you the entire time, you're probably not going to cheer, you're not going to snap, you're not going to clap, you're not going to bang on the floor, and then all of us are just a little bit more disconnected. And what I've seen, and I don't know if it's chicken or the egg, but a lot of great dancers that do have a strong social media presence, they might not even be feeling the need to be fed from the audience as much as maybe we have been in the past. And because of that, it kind of leads us to a bit of a problem, because then they're only going to be really concerned about capturing something for the gram, as we say. And if that's what they're focused on, then we're not really connecting with the audience. We're just improvising for the internet. And as nice as that is, I think we have our fill of that, sincerely. It's a sad thing. So my biggest suggestion is that, yeah, I like that the memories are being captured at dance events. I love it when people also, instead of posting a video of me dancing or of somebody else dancing, they actually send it to us first. I would rather give somebody the credit for actually videotaping something rather than them posting it and not being able to control the narrative, the subtext, the content therein, where it was at, who it was with, and what kind of division it was. These little things just in general tend to be very important for me. And I think for most content creators, let alone most professional Westies who don't give a damn about social media. The funny thing is too, is there have been times where I have been asked to try and see if I can make a video using an algorithm and using the proper hashtags or whatever it might be to see if it can go viral. And it's so hit and miss. To me, it just felt like a slot machine that really doesn't work very well. And if it does, you're just lucky. And so I would rather just randomly get lucky if that's the case. And I'm not really monetizing by views. And I've talked to a lot of people that have in the past, and they're not really able to monetize as much as they have in the past because the algorithms have changed, because content creation has become so damp that right now it's a cutthroat environment. I will say this, and this is for those people that have maybe joined our community because they've seen West Coast Swing online. And I'm not saying that you're joining for any bad reasons at all. In fact, welcome. That is so incredible that you're all here because of a little screen, and seeing random people dance and seeing a bit of that improvisational or show Westie magic is a really special thing to behold, whether it's in the palm of your hand, on a laptop, a tablet, a TV, or live in person. And I think it's wonderful. However, I've noticed that a growing trend, and this is something that I really want everybody to pay attention to, that might be within the last 5 years new to the dance. A lot of us, intermediate dancers, even some advanced dancers, a lot of novice dancers, are now starting to have social media Instagram handles like Brian WCS or Modern Swing Madonna or whatever it might be. And it's interesting that people are taking such a strong identity with this dance. And it seems to me as if what they are doing is trying to plant early seeds of their progress and journey. And that is their identity. And they're hoping that someday they'll become viral, that they can make a living off of just posting improvisational videos, and that's that. Whereas what I would stress right now is those dancers that might be popular via social media, and I'm going to say this just from my perspective, but I know that I've talked to a lot of professionals about this as well, people that I really respect in this industry, those that have come before me, those that are kind of with me in my generation, and those in this newest, really wonderful, strong dancing generation. They may have really great social media presences, but they've also put in the hard work live. They're consistently churning out wonderful routines. They're running the circuit. They're running their own events. They really have become lifers in this dance. And I find it to be a little disingenuous and a little maybe nearsighted for Westie passionate amateur dancers to try and turn their social media into a business before they know what the they're doing. And this might come off a little harsh, and I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble, but rather trying to realign maybe the reality of the situation. If we try and skip steps, you're going to eventually hurt your own career and potentially the interest in newer dancers that are going to be led astray by your misinformation for lack of information. It takes years, and I mean years, and thousands of dollars and hours of work and labor and coaching and experiences on the dance floor and traveling and highs and lows for what I would suggest anybody wanting to be a teacher. And if you're starting to just hit the circuit frequently and you're trying to make an extra buck by teaching lessons, I get it, but at the end of the day, you're really oppressing the community. I was just at a dance event recently and just went on some weird social dance rampage where I think I social danced for like 7 hours, which almost never happens with me and my sore body, but I've been on this fitness kick, feeling a little bit better. The nerve damage in my body feels a lot better. So I danced my ass off. But what I noticed was the level and the lack of intuition and the ability to lead and to follow with skill, as opposed to memorizing moments like a soundboard almost. Like, if I give you this, you need to do this. And I noticed that everybody had the same reactions to the same intros that I was offering as a leader, or I was set up in the exact same movements by every leader that I had followed with. And there wasn't a change. There wasn't really much organic behaviors, a couple of exceptions. And those are the ones that I had a really great dance with, but those are also the ones that are not claiming to be social media Westie gurus. They're the ones that are putting in the hours. It seems to be a very weird contrast right now. And so my suggestion is this. I know that I'm not going to convince people to stay off of social media if you're not a professional dancer, but if you are going to represent this dance, might I just suggest that adding a shit ton of hashtags so that you can be seen in an intermediate Jack and Jill with a number on your back might not be the best thing for our community, because it's oversaturating those kinds of videos instead of the videos that traditionally make a much stronger impact to get new people to join our community. I can't tell you how many times I've traveled in remote places where people are like, Jordan and Tatiana, they inspired me to learn my first dance steps. I saw Kyle and Sarah's whatever routine, and it really inspired me, and I waited 7 years before I was able to come to a dance event. And so I just practiced looking at videos online. I love those stories, but what I don't want people to tell me is, well, I saw this one couple kind of doing it. It just didn't look very good, or I do other dances and they were off time. But they say they're pros, they've got a social media presence. And I really do feel like, despite maybe, the road to hell is paved with wonderful, passionate intentions, a lot of us are actually drowning out the important videos that could capture the hearts of thousands, let alone potentially hundreds of thousands of passionate future budding Westies. Because of this, we're losing sight of maybe the joy that this dance can bring. I've noticed that a lot of people will post clips of their videos of their Jack and Jills. Like, I've had, clunker Jack and Jills here and there as well. And Lord knows I'm not going to post that shit unless something really funny happens. I know a lot of people that post every Jack and Jill of theirs, even professionals, which I don't understand why. Like, if it's not a good representation of your dance, unless, like, again, you fall, you have a fun accident, you want to showcase that, to show that we're all human, I think that's wonderful. However, if you're gonna showcase a really mediocre, or like a dance that is off time, or that you guys disconnected, if you walked off the floor saying, well, that was garbage, perhaps it's not the video for you to post. And I know that that just tells me, if you're posting that kind of content, and this is the pros predominantly that I'm talking to right now, chances are you're probably feeding into the social media machine in a way that's not very healthy. You can pick and choose and post what you need to post. If you feel the need to continue to post, I understand. But might I suggest making more content outside of just a quick Jack and Jill? And if you are, showcase like a very small moment, but not the entire thing. I also feel like people showcasing their social dances sometimes, unless they're absolute like banger special moments that we get maybe once or twice a year, maybe not dress them up as something incredible, because again, we might be running into the problem where if the video is not great and some random person in the algorithm is given a chance to see West Coast Swing for maybe their only chance and their only opportunity, you're gonna fail them. We are going to fail them. And so if you really are interested in growing this community, if you're interested in becoming a professional dancer, might I suggest to everybody here that we maybe just take a step back and ask ourselves, if we're going to jump into the social media machine, which we kind of have to at some point, we should understand the risk and reward, the cost-benefit analysis of what posting something can actually mean. If it is just to boost your ego, might I suggest doing it on Facebook and not Instagram or TikTok? Because if you do it on Facebook, chances are you're probably doing it for people that just know you. And if that's the case, and if you need like the moral boost from people telling you how wonderful you are, fantastic, go for it. I think that can sometimes help. But it also can mislead us. And that's going to lead me into like another point that I feel is starting to become a bit of a problem. And that is the wolves in sheep's clothing issue that I'm seeing with social media. There are several people that know how to play the algorithmical game that is social media, the hashtags, who to post secretly with, the times, the places, the color of the thumbnail. There's so many things that I've heard over the years with like a lot of Westies that are very good at it. I am not. They tell me all these things, and those that are really good, it's interesting that some have, hundreds of thousands of followers, but they can't even they can't even dance good. I mean, they might have a couple of really great things about their dance qualities, but too few and far between for me to think that this is a good representative of our dance. I'm not saying you need to be God's gift to West Coast swing. And I know if your intentions are earnest, that's fine. You can talk about your journey and how you're growing. Great. Treat it like a diary. Fine. But for those that are social media hunting, follower and like hunting, and you don't know how to turn your feet out on occasion. Like, it's okay if you turn them in on occasion, or if you can celebrate something else about your dance. I totally respect that, and I think that that's wonderful, because nobody has perfect dances, and we are part of a dance. And I'll talk about this in another pod at some point, where our imperfections can actually be celebrated. But if you're consistently just showing the zaniness of our dance, the improvisational play, and trying to make it seem something that really our dance isn't, then you might be hurting our community, and shame on you. And sadly, it's these same people that I feel are in it for the wrong reasons. Now, there are a lot of people that are just lovely, wonderful, beautiful humans and beautiful Westies that are very passionate. And please know, if you feel zero guilt from anything that I'm saying right now, know that I'm not talking to you. I would say 90% of our community is just absolutely wonderful and kind and passionate and sharing and humble and journey people to just learn more and more and to share more and more and to connect with as many people as possible. Malditas zancudos. I'm getting eaten alive right now. And I just wanted to once again kind of circle back to the people that are heavily involved in social media, in particular the traveling pros that do this for a living. I hope that nobody takes this video and thinks that I'm shaming you for what you do. In fact, I honor you for doing that, because it is creating a beautiful new generation of passionate Westies, and it's a really great outreach for everybody to do. What I was thinking about, though, and reflecting upon throughout this week, in fact, I haven't been on social media in a week, and it's been amazing. In fact, I really wasn't in much of a social mood at all, even though I'm in one of the most beautiful places on earth. And so I would kind of get vegan food to go. I'd walk to a beach, take my food back to my treehouse, and I would eat alone, and I would think, and I would eat alone, and I would think, and I would eat alone, and I would think. And it got me thinking how much I didn't need to look at my phone to feel passionate, to feel a newfound sense of a filled tank of inspiration to share in the West Coast swing communities. I think it's a wonderful thing sometimes to shut off. And my encouragement to all of the passionate Westies that are watching this, that feel like they need to consistently feed TikTok and the gram. I get it. It's a hustle. I don't pretend to know how difficult it is, because I don't really do it that much. But I will suggest that shutting off on occasion and having a sabbatical is just incredible. And it's funny, there were times that I was laying by the beach or taking a hike and seeing the most beautiful sky or the most beautiful water or a cute street dog, and how quickly I wanted to maybe even post a story of it. But even that, by me posting a story of it, takes me out of the story of it. And I just realized how much more we need that sense of presence at our dance events, and how much more we need that sense of presence also when we're practicing, when we're competing even. Sometimes we're just so hell-bent on having those viral moments that the rest really doesn't matter. And it does. It absolutely does matter, because at some point you're going to hit that point, that apex, that climax in your lives, in your journeys as dancers. And if you put all this effort maybe on just filters and edits, but you haven't focused on postural chain and settling, elastic frame, or swing rhythm, all of these things that really just kind of stick with you as you continue your journey as Westies. If you don't focus on those things so much, they're going to escape you, and you're going to hit a very, very heavy plateau a lot sooner than a lot later. And so I really do stress anybody that really has that bug, no pun intended, whatever the case may be, whatever you're seeking, just understand that there's a balance to it all. And if I could share something, just a bit of advice from somebody who's been dancing West Coast swing for almost 40 years now, that there is something that I like to call the
Law of swing.
And so everything that we do on one side needs to overcorrect itself on another, or we need to swing to its opposition. So consistently when we're practicing, we need to swing to the opposition. If we're focusing on technique, then we need to swing to the opposition and focus on the artistry and the creativity and the musicality. By consistently swinging to these opposite directions, we're constantly cross-training ourselves and, in an essence, following a universal law of swing. And I think that's pretty damn cool that we can actually follow laws and principles that help all of us become better swing dancers, better teachers, better attendees, better event directors. We're probably all too much following hype and following a very unilateral direction right now in our community for those of us that are really heavily involved in the social media space. We swing in that direction and boom, there we are. I just hope that we can swing back and to focus on other aspects of this dance that really will improve our dancing. It's important that we have social media. It helps your careers. It helps bring new dancers in there. But at some point, if we're not helping our dancing get better, then we're going to be losing a lot of potential members of our wonderful community. And I think that's just a massive disservice.
Oh yeah! Bailamos West Coast Swing!
Caray, está haciendo mucho calor. Okay. So, in closing message, I can't help but continue to think back as I was sitting there eating by myself, pondering things, meditating, going through my own personal thoughts and emotions about my own life, about love, about loss, about dance, about my space in the dance community. I'd received some really interesting news this year in particular, where a few events have actually, because I don't have a strong enough social media presence, have decided not to hire me back. It's kind of crazy, right? It's kind of crazy that despite my, I think, very good abilities to teach, to adjudicate, to be a presence on the dance floor, the fact that my social media presence isn't strong enough is the thing that keeps me back. I wonder how much of that will matter when you get me in a classroom or when you get me on the dance floor. And so here I am sharing this vulnerable situation with all of you because it is because of social media or lack thereof in my life that has, in a weird sort of way, maybe affected my career negatively. However, it's also helped me realize and find the events that don't care so much about that and want me, probably for stronger and better reasons, that swing in the opposite direction of the hyper social mediaization of it all. And for me, I'm really happy to kind of see that and to experience that now as a professional dancer, as somebody who makes a living off of counting to 8 and who choreographs and who wants to perform and wants to compete in Jack and Jill's and Strictly Swings if given the opportunity, and wants to judge and wants to lecture and wants to social dance in different places around the world. But because of my social media presence, it's just not enough for some. And you know what? That's fine. Ultimately, that's on you if that's what you want to value. And I do believe, and a good friend of mine in the community has said this many times, that there's plenty of work to go around for all of us. Perhaps if we can just generally, those that are still budding Westies, maybe we just post our journey on Facebook and post pictures of your life outside of dancing sometimes.
But dancing is my life! Dancing is my life!
I think that would be a pretty decent thing. Posting every practice social dance you do on Instagram and then adding a million hashtags and adding Jack and Jill when it's not Jack and Jill, or Strictly Swing when it's not a Strictly Swing, or even worse, tagging my name or other professional West Coast swing dancers' names when we had nothing to do with that video, the song, the dance, anything, when we've never even taught you. That's a problem. You've got an addiction, and look, not the kind of good kind of addiction that is like being a West Coast swing dancer, but a bad kind of addiction that is like hurting our community. So please, I'm just telling everybody from the bottom of my cold, dark heart to please just be vigilant of what you're posting, when you're posting, how you're posting, and how you're presenting your posts, and who your audience actually is. And the responsibility that each and every single one of us has when we represent this dance. I find it very important. I can't tell you how many people, really talented non-Westies, that have come up to me over the years and saying,
God, I love seeing that video when you're in your costume, but then I see all these people just kind of clowning around and they've got that legs, and they've got that connection, and they're obviously off time.
I immediately get this tightness in my chest because I realize they're watching these shitty videos that people felt the need to post for the need to post itself, not because they were actually something that they were proud of. And I get it. Sometimes we have shitty dances, but we're proud of it for whatever reason. It celebrates a landmark, a milestone, if you will, and share it. Have at it. I think that's really cool. I feel like there's a great space, but if you explain it clearly, that's going to be a wonderful thing for all of us to understand and appreciate with you. I also feel like social media posts that are just dogging on everybody as well is really not healthy, and I've seen a lot of that recently. So please understand, I'm not coming from a disgruntled place. In fact, I'm coming from what I feel is to be a very empowered place because of where I'm at right now, because of that really beautiful chance encounter of seeing that beautiful Zapotec boy selling me a necklace, and then looking at a video of what I thought was bachata on social media in the middle of an indigenous beach in Oaxaca, Mexico. You know, that kind of random moments, and the fact that I was at least quieting my crazy mind and my crazy, constantly hyperactive mind to think about our community and to connect that social media is not just an evil, but it's a really strong gift. And I like to use my social media selectively. I like it to represent things that I'm actually proud of more often than not. I know we each have our own likes and dislikes, and that's totally fine. If I'm on one side of that pendulum and you might be on another, perhaps there's some middle ground that we can all arrive to. I would love to explore that more. And even me doing this podcast is essentially part of that. I also say this, if you are an event director or a weekend workshop or a club that might want my services live as a teacher, as a performer, as a Jack and Jiller, please reach out. I'd love to work with people that understand that social media is not the end all be all. It might be a necessary evil, but that shouldn't be what really values the best of the best dancers in our community. And for those of you that are incredible dancers, that are incredible social media artists, I just say make sure you find time for yourselves. I'm saying that as somebody who can see it, even from afar, even from a staff room, how burned out and or how compulsive your behavior on social media actually is. And yeah, it might be a good escape from maybe some anxiety, but I'm wondering, and I'm saying this as somebody who realized that he was also just really agobiado, overwhelmed, under a lot of pressure, through just constantly thinking about dance things and creative projects to the point that I was not able to just silence my mind and think about something else important for this community and for myself, for my own mental health and well-being. I'm here saying that, you know, as somebody who's gone through a lot of ups and downs, both in my career and in my personal life, that it's okay to kind of check out for a little bit so that we can check in all caps. And I'm excited to do that with all of you. I think I'm just going to end this right now. I feel like this might be a bit of a short and sweet experience, but remember, as I've been driving around these villages and seeing these beautiful people, I think about those people in comments that are not West Coast swing dancers, but they're fans and they know a lot of our names. That is pretty powerful stuff. And I want to compliment all of the social media pioneers that have done so much amazing work and due diligence. I want to thank you all. As much as this might have been a bit of a critical segment in this podcast, I want to thank all the people that have hustled to make West Coast Swing a powerful presence in the social media realm. Thank you for what you do, because I know you're letting our wonderful, joyous dance bring a lot of people, Westies and non-Westies and future Westies alike, a lot of joy. So thank you to you all. And with that, I'm going to leave you all. But please, if you want to support this pod, please leave a like, leave a comment. That would be amazing. I'd love to hear what you think are your good and bad aspects of the social media process right now in our community. I can't wait to hear from all of you. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, do all those wonderful things. If you want to donate, boom, 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 boom. Ahí está, right there. And muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con el Modern Swing Podcast. Yo fui tu presentador, Benji Schwimmer, y te pido un adiós, un abrazo fuerte a todos desde Oaxaca, México. Hasta pronto. Nos vemos. Adiós. Peace. And of course, I had other thoughts that just came to mind as I was shutting down. I also just wanted to throw this out there as a little addendum here to this pod. It brings me a lot of joy thinking through these podcasts. I wanted to share briefly before we call it a personal story about me. I know that I shared that some events aren't hiring me because of my social media presence or lack thereof. And, that's fine, to each their own. I hope that where one door closes, a window opens, or whatever that saying is in English, I have faith that the more that I put into this dance, the more it's going to come back to me in a positive way. And I will say this, I'm not complaining. For every job that I lose, another one opens, and it has consistently throughout my career. And I'm really grateful for the people that see me and connect with me. I deal with pretty aggressive social anxieties. It's really hard for my brain to quiet down. When I'm teaching, when I'm hyperstimulated with information, when I'm improvising, when I'm prepping for a show or a competition, it gives me a sense of singular focus and absolute control of what normally is a very chaotic brain. It's probably part of what my side of genius is, as well as it's probably one of the worst aspects of my personality, because when I get these anxiety attacks, it usually manifests in me like clamming up and being very quiet, and that tends to make people think I'm really standoffish. I get skittish. I know our community's so like touchy, lovey, feely, huggy. Everybody knows your name. I can perform in front of 1 million people on live TV, and yet to get into an elevator at a swing dance event, excruciatingly difficult for me, and I have to do it all the time. However, I wouldn't change this experience of being a professional dancer for the world. And I love it so much, and I love every facet about it. I love the fact that as a technician and understanding my own body a little better and understanding technical aspects of leading and following that I wish I had implemented choreographically years past. For me, al final de cuentas, como dicen los mexicanos, at the end of all things, what I was sharing with this social anxiety is that sometimes it does come off as the wrong way, but there has been a new gift and blessing in my life where I don't feel that anxiety, and I'm able to share kind of my passion, my nerdiness for this dance, and that is through this podcast. And I have to thank each and every single one of you, because if that first episode didn't hit, and it didn't hit hard with like a really good positive feedback and response from the dance community, I don't think I would have continued. But I will tell you this, these quiet moments that I get being a pure fan of this dance and being able to share my passion with it without the anxiety behind it is just a really good indicator, I think, of a side of me that I don't think a lot of people get a chance to see when I'm at dance events. And trust, I have 2 therapists. I am working through it as best as I possibly can. And sometimes I'm just really focused on the teaching, the technique, the dance, where I'm not there for social aspect or like being at a dance event. Some people are there just to connect with others, and I'm there to share with others. And so, it might just be different strokes, different folks. But I just wanted to inject this really quickly since we were talking about things with social media, which gives me a lot of anxiety, which my lack of social media has given me a lack of certain employments, and that gives me a lot of anxiety. And yet here, via social media, which YouTube and the like is social media, right? It doesn't give me anxiety. And I don't feel like I'm hiding behind a filter or a mask. I mean, maybe it's some good lighting, right? But I'm here on social media sharing this little podcast with you, probably my purest Westie self. Outside of being on the dance floor, I feel like this is one of the strongest ways that I can share my love for this dance, let alone when I'm teaching, because I think that that's where it's really there too. And unless you've had the opportunity to work with me privately when I set choreography on people, I feel like that's a whole different experience and different ballgame too. But I just wanted to thank you all for giving me this opportunity, for donating those little cups of coffee here and there, or if you're Mormon, you can give me a cup of water. It's cool too. Thank you for that, because it's giving me a new outlet to share my passion and to study more about this beautiful dance without giving me even a hint of anxiety. So thank you to you all. It is a labor of love. It takes me hours and hours to edit this shit. I've invested money in professional lighting that is collapsible so that I can bring it in like my bags with me now, just in case the chance to record a pod such as this one touches my heart. And so I just wanted to say thank you to you all. I can't wait to continue this journey with all of you. I hope you continue to stick with me and help this podcast grow. So thanks to you all. Much love. And once again, peace. We'll see you next time.
Adiós. Bailamos West Coast Swing todos juntos en este lugar.